Apple devices enrollment with Endpoint Manager, or you could say Intune. So this is what we're going to learn within this short lecture. We will be focusing on how to enroll Apple devices as a bring your own device concept for managing with Microsoft Intune. So this is what we're going to learn within this short lecture, and also I'm going to talk about best practices where how could apply it a different type of policies.
Apple enrollment. Okay, so we worked with the Windows, we worked with the uh, Android. Okay, now we are going to work with the Mac as well as the iOS specific. Okay, so let's see if you want to work with iOS. So there are a few other options out there. Okay, I'm going to talk on first iOS. In fact, actually, if you look at here, these two, which is Mac, iOS, and iPad. Just wanted to tell you if you're quite new to the Apple, in any case. So operating system for iPhone, it is a iOS. For iPad, it is a iPad OS. So the operating system is different in iPhone and iPad, and also on your Mac devices also there's a different operating system. So similarly, the devices three different type, and similarly operating system also differences. Why we are talking is because the enrollment process they have defined same, but uh, I mean, when I say same, it is actually, if you look at here, the enrollment iPad iOS, it is once we configure these same steps, whatever the steps are here, which is similar to your iPad or Mac, which is the same again. So the steps are same. Okay, and if you do on an iPad or iOS specific, Mac also remains the same thing. And if you see here, these are the steps that we need to configure, which is in a grayed out because we have not yet enabled the iOS or iPad specific configuration. So let's do that now. Okay, so I will be selecting first iOS, iPad, one and the same as I said earlier. You do it either Mac level or iOS or iPad settings. It's one and the same. So what are the enrollment options you have? First thing, as you know, you have to create anyway the enrollment specific options to be configured later point, the complaints policies, configuration profiles, and the software update specific policies to be configured so that the latest version of 14 to 15 maybe, or maybe whatever the next patches, all that can be upgraded automatically. Okay, so first step, we are going to configure with the enrollment process. So to configure the enrollment, what we have to do is we have to actually work with here you look at how the Intune is, or the Microsoft Endpoint Manager is configured. It is actually on top of Azure AD, that you know by this time, right? But Apple devices works on an Apple portal, right? So backend they have their own manufacturing configuration. So in a Google, what we have done similarly for the Google, we actually configure for the Google account here, right? Google account we configured. So same thing here. What about Apple? For Apple, we have to actually configure something called a push certificate. It works on a certificate based. That's what Apple has decided. So now what you have to do, you have to create a certificate to be generated. The certificates how works? Certificate method is simple. So you would take your hardware, and based on your hardware ID, you generate a certificate called certificate request file. That's a CER, certificate request file. And this file you will upload to your certificate vendor. In this case, it is Apple. So for Apple, you will upload your certificate. Then based on your own certificate generated hash algorithm and Apple's own algorithm, they actually create a certificate, and that certificate can be integrated with your service. This is a normal method. Okay, in this case, Apple, maybe GoDaddy or whatever the certificate, a DigiCert or any other vendor, it's a one and the same. Okay, this method. So now for Apple also, we would be following the same method. The first thing is click on Apple MDM push certificate. it says that, hey, are you really gonna work? If that's the case, just accept this terms and condition. Now Microsoft offering on their Azure AD tenant based a CSR. Okay, CSR is certificate signing request. So this file you can generate, and it can come back here. So if you see here, I downloaded Intune CSR in a bracket 2 because I might have already a file, so I need to work with only 02. Later point, it says that, hey, once you downloaded step 2, step 3 is you just have to go to Apple MDM push certificate URL. So you just have to log into Apple website with your Apple ID. So in my case, I have already logged into Apple account. So in your case, if you're first time trying to do, so you need to have Apple ID. Similarly, Google Gmail ID, you might have to have Apple account specific, called an ID. With that, you do all the purchasing, all of that stuff, right? That's called Apple ID. So in my case, I have created a test account with a a temporary account with this account. So with this account, I have already logged in. So once I logged in, once I click this URL, if I just close that, also if I just click on this certificate, create a certificate, since I have already logged in, it is asking me to create a certificate. So this is a third step. Once we download that CSR, third step is visit this page. Okay, create a certificate, accept the terms and conditions, and accept. Now here it says that maybe this is a notes that that I'm generating for MDM for Intune. I'm just giving this a note so that I know that in my account this certificate is used for my Intune purpose, right? The CSR file which I downloaded in step 2 needs to be uploaded here. Okay, if I correctly remember, it should be in a downloads, today downloaded file. I'm uploading. So what happened now? We have generated CSR and that file uploaded to Apple certificate server. And this certificate server has created a certificate and giving you with 1 year validity. I'll talk on validity now. It is just generated as an output new certificate. So this certificate comes in a PEM format. Okay, this file I just have to click on now so that I get this file. This file I have to upload to my Intune. Just wanted to talk here few important points. This certificate is going to expire after 1 year time, exactly after 1 year, and this certificate only valid for my tenant. It cannot valid for you because the CSR was generated against to my Azure AD tenant, not for your tenant. So it doesn't work on any, it doesn't work for others. Clear? Now I'll just download this certificate. Okay, so I have already downloaded, in fact, so I'll just upload as the third step. Right here I need to upload, but before I upload, it is asking for the Apple ID. So by using what Apple ID it has generated, if you remember, I use this email ID to log into my Apple account. So I'll give here that account name. Okay, so with this account it is try to log in. And what is a file? The PEM file is downloaded here today. If you see here, this is a PEM file which was downloaded here. So just today, so I'll just upload. What would happen now? I will get here as a tick mark if everything goes smooth. Yeah, I got a tick mark here with the active. That's it. All I have to do is just close it. Now, if you see here, these things has been enabled, right? We'll talk about now uh, compliance policies and configuration policies for now. Okay, I'm not going to talk about corporate devices, all of that. I'll come back to that with the slides later point. Now we'll talk about bring your own device concept. As you know that Apple devices also can be pulled for a bring your own device. So let's try that. So for that, we need to create a compliance policy. So let's create a compliance policy.
I would like to take opportunity to explain here how to apply the compliance policies. Always when you create here from your policies, the compliance policies, whatever the policy, no matter whether it is for iOS or Windows or any device or any platform by that matter, compliance policies should be applied for users, not for devices. Remember that. And uh, other settings, let's say these settings should be applied for devices. When I say these, like a configuration profiles or any kind of other settings, maximum it applies for device based settings. In other way, let me put it in easiest way, conditional access specific or compliance policies, which is conditional access and compliance policies, these two should go to the user based, and remaining things should always apply for device based. So you should be able to create a groups with the dynamic AD group for personal, and then also create one for company owned. Okay, now from the filters you could create a filter for personal devices as iOS and a personal devices for Windows, another one for Android. So now in a filters, which is if you have not seen the filters, because I'm not going to demonstrate here the filters specific one, but you could check out the link which is in the description for filters. You could actually create a dynamic AD group for personal devices and company owned devices, and for each of these category create three different groups, or in other way, I'm sorry, it's not groups, I would say exactly the filters. One at least for bring your own device specific, three different filters, and for company owned again the same thing. And also you could create even filters for your enrollment profile based also, for example in iOS, or maybe in iOS at least a Mac enrollment is there, so you could create a Mac enrollment profile based, or in a Android specific you have a company dedicated and company owned with a personal profile, all of that based on the enrollment, or the profile based also. You could actually create the filters by taking these simple two AD groups as a base, and then create as many as filters, and then apply those filters for your device based settings. For example, the iPad upgrades, or maybe configuration profiles, or maybe security baselines, all of that stuff should actually go with the device based configurations with a filter based. That's how you should be applying it. That's the right method for you to go in the real world. If you don't go in that way, what would happen is you will face with a lot of issues with the complaints or the conflicts, or conflict with, basically with the policies, all of that stuff you would encounter. So that's a, you would definitely get that kind of an experience later point when you give it a try.
So iOS specific, again, these are the very similar. We have been working with Android, Windows, same configurations. So I would uh, look at the security. Required a password to unlock the device. That's what I'm taking here. And one setting option, maybe here I can say minimum OS would be at least the 11.0, which is the Android device version that needs to be measured. Okay, and these are quite common settings. I'll create. So now we created one complaints policy for Android for iOS devices, right? So complaints policy is available here. Similarly, you can also configure if you want any other configurations. Say, let's say I want a device restriction policies. Like you have all the similar options that you have for iOS and Windows and Android. Similar options categories are available. Based on the configurations, you can choose it. So in our case, iOS specific configuration I'm doing as a device restrictions. So here I can say that I want a password should be required. It must be a 6-digit character, or maybe a 4-digit. Uh, that you can, depends on your configuration. You can configure it. Clear? So in my case, I'm gonna apply the configuration once again, 6 characters maybe I can give here. Okay, and apply all devices. Create. Okay, so we have configuration policies and compliance policies. This is where you can also configure the updates. Let's say you want to do the iOS specific or iPad specific updates. It's a simple update policy. So you see here, you can select the version. Currently 14.6 is the latest version. So you want to stay on this devices, all the devices you can choose, or you can bring to the latest that as soon as uh, Apple releases new version of patch or maybe OS, then you can upgrade to the latest. And the schedule type is you can say that during the next policy check or on a scheduled time. So you can define this time zone, all of that. So mostly it would be uh, update at the next check-in, meaning the next check-in it will check up and then it will do the prompt for the end user and then it can be scheduled according to that. So these are the options that you have for the updates. Now we have done all the required configuration which is available. Now let's do the screen mirror from my phone. So this is my iPhone. Okay, personal device. I wanted to install some kind of application to enroll. So what is that application we would be using, my friends? Can anybody guess? So we'll just go here to the company portal. So in my case, I'll say company portal. Able to see my screen? Hope you can download.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not this. That's not the one. This is the company portal, right? So earlier I have tried because you know that Apple caches everything. That's why it's coming from a cloud, right? Cloud account because it was logged into my device earlier. This application. That's why. Otherwise, you just get it there as install. That's okay. The settings are not coming here if you see. So now I need to try with the Rob account. So I'll just say sign in. So now I'll choose here Mr. Rob at. Okay, now it will ask for the password. So I need to enter the passcode. So I'm entering here the passcode. Hope you're able to see my password also, which I enter. Now it's just asking for multi-factor authentication. I don't want. So I'll say skip for now. It's not accepted. So I need to, seems to go for MFA. Might be. It's okay.
While sharing the screen, I would like to um, explain to you here all these steps. We have a more than 11 and a half hours a dedicated video on a Microsoft Intune training. Please do check out that within this description of a video that also explains the end-to-end configuration for Microsoft Intune. And also we have another playlist dedicatedly for designing, that is especially for planning and designing. What if you're the architect, or if you have a new project, how you're going to design. All of that stuff was very clearly explained for you, which is also there. You have a link within that. And it's not just that, we also have a dedicated templates that you could use as a ready-made for your planning and designing projects. So you could check out that link also, which is in the description.
Yeah, it's taking time actually. I don't need multi-factor authentication. Let's take some time. By any chance, is it coming here? No. One second. Let me cancel that authenticator option. Let it go. Yeah, so it just logged in. Okay. Okay, notifications to be allowed. Fine. Now begin the enrollment process, what they can see, what they cannot see, right? So then continue, privacy after that. So what is happening now? It is actually downloading a management profile, my friend. So based on our certificate, okay, a profile file will be downloaded to settings. See here? So when prompted, we just have to press allow so that a profile got downloaded. What it is saying, you just have to go to settings. Okay, able to see, right? You have to go to the settings app if you want to install. So I'll say just close. I'll go to the home button, settings. Here you see here you have a profile downloaded, right? So I'll say install this one. Okay, it's gonna ask for that whatever the password. Okay, so I'll say install. Now it is getting installed. So what is this actually profile? Profile consists of a certificate based on the certificate that we have uploaded. Okay, so here we just have to click on install and we're trusting that profile based on the certificate and all of that stuff. Once this is successful, okay, click on done. Now you see here IBM Intune Lab. This is the profile specific certificates, all of that stuff got coming up even from right, all of this stuff. Okay, now we have done this profile. So if I just go here, next step is I have to go back here and it says that once you download it, click on continue. So it will verify at this step. At this step, it will verify whether that profile got successfully installed on this device or not. In case if it is not done, it will stuck at this point of time. Okay, so in our case, we know that it has got installed. That's why we got the green button also. Okay, now continue. So it's going to validate the checks. If you see here, the passcode, complaints policies, all of that stuff, it's going to validate now. It might take a minute or so. Okay, now it has done. Now it's going to ask me what is that category you are choosing. If you notice, it's not asking for the terms and condition because this Rob user already logged in earlier, right? That's right. So now I can say this is a bring your own device, right? Definitely, because iPhone is owned by me and it is asking me to rate the application. I don't want to do it now, so say continue. So that's it. The experience remains same. So whatever other devices that Rob has will be showing here with the complaints policies, all of that. So if you see here, this is Pawan's iPhone and support information. You're getting all of that stuff, right? So that's good. So now HR team set, which we published on a Windows, if you remember, this is actually opening as an application also published and you're getting the web application here, right? So now let's actually go to a portal and try to publish the applications also for iPhone. Okay, clear, my friends? So I'll just start the screen. Yeah. So within this, we have configured all the stuff, right? Even if you remember, we configured for if I just go to enrollment for Mac also, it will be actually done with the same certificate. Okay, if you see here, it's the same thing, everything is coming up here. Earlier it was grayed out, right? Now let's deploy the application. So go to the applications. Okay, and this time it's definitely for iOS iPad specific. So click on add. Here you have an application, iOS store, app store specific. So select the application that you want to deploy. So friends, here you need to type properly, otherwise you might not get properly. Click on that search button, Microsoft. So in my case, let's say I want to deploy Word. I'll select, okay, and click on next. Category, all of that stuff you need to select it properly, and then you can apply to whatever the devices you want to deploy. In this case, we deployed for Word. Similarly, you can deploy multiple applications that you wanted to push it. Okay, web link, you can do it. We have done actually for earlier. Built-in apps, this is again something that are available like iOS specific. For example, like a reader, you want to push it. These are Microsoft is offering you without you go to other options. Okay, let's say Outlook, I can push it directly. Planner, I can push it. So these are coming directly from Microsoft. So I can simply select those applications and push it. Okay, so this is not a sign if I correctly um, remember, because these applications are just imported. Okay, now I need to assign to the required person. Okay, in this case, edit. You want to know available mode, then you can do for available. Okay, this is available mode. And similarly, you want to make it as install as a mandatory, then you do assignment for required. Okay, now go back to the device, which I'm going to share one more time. Yeah, I hope you're able to see the screen. Yeah, so now I've done this. So I'll just say, so I'll just open this and automatically I got that the button to, prompting to install the Microsoft Word, because this is become as a mandatory, right? So just say install. Okay, in the backend it will do all that stuff, but if you want to do this is the company. So iPhone specific, I want to just check status to be checked. That will download everything. So if you see here, Word is getting downloaded. So if you just click on apps,